Comrades, it is I, a random shite bag, here to bring you news of old. So far in this series, we've been focusing in on the street actions of the Provos, Amsterdam's counterculture movement that changed the city forever and spread its message through the world, influencing the youth revolutions of the swinging 60s with its use of the happening.
A happening in Holland by the Provos, today's rowdiest protest movement with a freer tomorrow for their cause. What is their method in their madness?
A happening is a happening is a happening is a happening is a happening. Everything is happening.
So for this chapter, we're going to dive face first into some of the theories behind their movement and the philosophers who imagined a utopian future where humanity would use its technology to liberate itself from its self-imposed shackles, both physically and mentally. Today we'll hit the trail on the road to New Babylon, the Provo's movement to free humanity from work forever and live like 21st century humans. This is the new chapter of the Shite Guide to Provo.
Ooh, there goes the neighborhood, here come the Provos. Working for the man is a no-no. Staying on the low-low, playing with the po-po. When you're with the crew, you're never gonna roll solo. Ooh, there goes the neighborhood, here come the Provos. Trying to give the world back its mojo. The people with no hope need to go loco. Here come the Provos to fuck up the whole show.
So every Friday on the Spow, the central point of the Provo's revolution, there's a sweet second-hand book market with stalls selling everything from old newspapers to dodgy vintage porno mags with more pubes than you can shake a Mickey at. So I've been coming here every Friday looking for Provo literature for the last 2 years with no luck, until today. Just picked up an original Provo magazine from 1966, Provo number 4, in which a new radical plan for the future of life on Earth was laid out by the most radical of radicals. The main articles in this edition were written by Constant Nieuwenhuys, or as he's known in Dutch, just Constant. And he's one of the characters on our journey whose name is widely known far beyond the antics of Provo, as he was a famous artist and thinker in his own right. And we're going to have a little read of it. Before he was adopted by the Provos, he led an illustrious career in various artistic and kind of anti-authoritarian collectives. And in 1948, he founded Cobra, an avant-garde art movement with a taste for futurism and Marxism. Its name was made from the initials of the first letters of the capital cities of its founders, Copenhagen, Brussels, and Amsterdam. He was also a member of the Situationist Internationale, a crew of left-leaning revolutionary artists and thinkers who were a driving force behind France's infamous student insurrection of May 1968.
But Constant was eventually expelled by the group. Yeah, so fuck him.
Constant was a perfect fit for the Provos. Not only was he a respected artist, but his plans for the future of society were to give Provo a blueprint for the utopia they were fighting for.
Constant was both an artist and an architect, and he blew the arse out of both fields when he merged them together for his plans of a new Babylon. A new way of constructing our cities for a future when technology would ensure that most humans would never have to work again. Machines would work for us while we floated through the world, free to live lives of happiness and creativity.
In Provo number 4, Constant laid out his radical plans for New Babylon. The building behind me here is where Constant had his studio, where he was cooking up all his wild, his wild wacky shit. He believed that for our society to reach its full potential, there must be a revolution in how we approached our lives. He thought that we spend too much time stressed about work and other, kind of pointless shite, and not enough time on play. Instead of wasting our lives making criminals billionaires, he believed that we should be in a state of perpetual play and anti-functional activity.
This is building as a system, and the people that are living in it are supposed to fit in the system. They are going out at the time the system prescribes. They're coming home at the time the system prescribes. Man is doing his job as a part of the system.
Battery living, they say, dulls the imagination and kills any desire to express it.
We are provoking people to think about themselves and their future. We are provoking them to take their responsibility in their own hands, and not to give them to authorities who use them for their own means.
Homo sapiens must evolve to Homo ludens, the man at play. Constant knew that we had only 2 options for the future as a society and a species. Use the inevitable automation of the workplace to liberate ourselves from infinite drudgery, or keep working and wasting our lives for the oligarchs, creating insane wealth for billionaires and criminals. At the moment of publishing, we've chosen wage slavery.
Another day in the factory, another day in this wretched reality. Face to face with humanity's tragedy, losing my way as I'm losing my sanity. There's gotta be a better way to be the slave to the salary banality of evil and the evil of banality. I'm trapped with the rats and the race. I'm leaving this place and I'm making my way to New Babylon. New Babylon. Utopian hope is a paragon. Humanity hanging on, burning the Amazon. The whole planet living in the shadow of the atom bomb. New Babylon, break the shackles attached to the pantheon. I am not an automaton, I am a vagabond. Sprint to your death, or get ready for the marathon. Constant's plans for Homo ludens were based on the book by Dutch thinker Johan Huizinga, which stated that play is freedom. Play is not real life. Play is distinct from ordinary life. Play creates absolute order, and play cannot contain any material interest or be allowed to create profit.
We would be freed from the shackles of soul-destroying bullshit jobs. We'd float through our cities as free beings, our only thoughts on love, art, and the improvement of mankind, the quest for leisure and pleasure. And we wouldn't even have to hang the landlords, which, if I'm being honest, I'm still kind of pushing for.
I wanna hang my landlord, I wanna stab my boss, and then I wanna make love to you while the sirens scream outside. I wanna hang my landlord and kidnap my boss. Then I wanna make love to you all night while he's tied up in the corner screaming for mercy.
He theorized that when we stopped living solely for the creation of capital, we would evolve to the next stage of humanity's search for meaning, Homo ludens, the man at play. His artistic creations were displayed across the way here at the Stedelijk Museum, a location that's had its fair share of happenings. His plans were in sync with the aims of the Provos, and they were incorporated into their white plans to improve the city living, to solve the housing crisis. And on the journey to New Babylon, all of the empty buildings will be occupied by artists, lovers, and every freedom-loving creature under the sun. It was to be a city of poets.
I wanna leave the pollution, be where the humans are treated like humans. The evolution of Homo sapien into Homo ludens, a life of creation, not only consuming. When the animal's running, the capital cannot admit that man is not infallible. Knowledge is magical, cast off your manacles, swim to the shore to explore New Babylon. New Babylon, utopian hope is a paragon. Humanity hanging on, bird in the Amazon, the whole planet living in the shadow of the atom bomb. New Babylon, break the shackles attached to the pantheon. I am not an automaton, I am a vagabond. Sprint to your death or get ready for the marathon.
No movement is complete without its poets, those philosophers with the gift of capturing the zeitgeist. And the next character we'll meet along the way looms larger than the Provo movement itself, Simon Vinkenoog. Simon Vinkenoog is one of the most famous characters of 1960s Amsterdam. He was a poet who transcended the art he promoted, and he was a disciple of Constant's vision for the future utopia. When he wasn't puffing on a rusty Dermot or drop tabs of acid, he was a full-time happener. He was the man responsible for pushing poetry to the forefront of Amsterdam's counterculture, when he single-handedly gathered together all of the country's top poets for a happening at the Carré Theatre across the Amstel River there. And it was an event which brought poetry out of the basements and into the mainstream. And it kind of introduced all these new fresh faces to the public, and it legitimized the avant-garde. These would be the kind of characters that Constant's New Babylon would develop. People who eschewed the drudgery of capitalism and just created art for the sake of art.
And thank you, Simon, for the introduction. The first poem I'd like to read is a poem dedicated to all the poets all over the world. The title of the poem is The Poet.
I saw the poet at his table, he was creating this famous fable. What a lonely pursuit, alone in the booth, alone with the truth, surrounded by the tools of his trade and the jewels of his labor, his tears in the ink and his ink on the paper. I asked him why he cries, he confided with tears in his eyes, and he said, I've been to the mountain top and I had to stop, cause it was just a load of cunts taking selfies. Just a load of cunts, just a load of cunts.
Poets became intermingled with the counterculture, questioning the ways people have been living and speaking uncomfortable truths in new ways, opening people's minds up to new ideas and forms of thinking. But this new generation of poets weren't some delicate wallflowers that whispered wanky verses in hip cafes. These poets were Asian provocateurs, enemies of the state, a fifth column of rebels who attacked all that society held sacred. And some of them were just fucking lunatics. For example, Johhny the Self-Kicker.
Meine heren, dit is de befaamde hashish! Mijn heren, is de befaamde hashish! Mijn heren, is de befaamde hashish!
Johhny the Self-Kicker was the 1960s equivalent of NWA screaming "fuck the police" to a horrified middle class. Except Johhny the Self-Kicker was saying fuck absolutely everybody and everything that stood in the way of progress. He would build his wild poetry up into orgiastic crescendos of madness, with his measured prose veering wildly off track into howls of pain and anger, and he captured the zeitgeist of a generation who were sick to their stomachs of the grey world they had inhabited. Poets like Johhny the Self-Kicker and Gerrit the Ether Sniffer. They were mainstays of the happening scene, and they were the quintessential artists that would inhabit New Babylon, a society free of its manacles. While New Babylon today might seem like a demented idea, it's pretty much no worse than what we already have, you know what I mean? It's like our current system of life encourages anger, tribalism, loneliness, anxiety, depression for those who feel crushed by the inhumanity of wage slavery and the drudgery of capitalism. We know we're better than this, and our system only exists because we allow it to. So surely it's time to get back to the drawing board and admit that we've all failed, but we can strive to improve the lives of all humanity by reimagining what it means to be human. And you can do your part as well by engaging in art for the sake of art, and play for the sake of play, and live for the sake of life. And one day we might live out Constance's vision and evolve into Homo ludens, and we might just make it to the shores of New Babylon.
I saw the poet at his station wrestle with the waves of the fate of his nation. To be just like you, nursing a brew, it must be cool. Attacking the emperor, rallying the serfs from the moment of birth to the back of the hearse. The gift of your rhythm, your wit and your verse. He told me that it was a curse, and he said, I've been to the mountain top and I had to stop, cause it was just a load of cunts taking selfies. Just a load of cunts, just a load of cunts. I've been to the bottom of the ocean. I was overcome with emotion when I came face to face with the plastic waste of our plastic race in our plastic space.